Good day. Welcome to Wild Ways Podcast. I'm your host, Lyman Miller. So, I thought I'd start off. Maybe I can help somebody with this, but if you're thinking about going as a full-time outdoorsman, whether that's a trapper or fisherman or maybe a forager or a little bit of everything, I can kind of maybe save you a little bit of heartache and go over a few of the lessons I learned from doing it full time, my first year doing it full time, which was last year. Now, the way I did it, I got off to a pretty bad start. See, I'd thought about it for a long time. In fact, I probably should have did it when I was young. But, they say everyone lives two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. And so my life's half over. So I'd been thinking about getting just full time outdoors, pushing myself. I wanted to get out and seek adventure full time and be outside of my comfort zone. And so over the years, probably 4 or 5 years, I'd been thinking about it pretty steady, and I just sort of jumped into it. And that was probably good and bad. One, I'd been procrastinating about it. So one day I'm just like, let's just do it. Let's go for it. But I didn't have a reasonable plan in place to make things go smooth. Because the reality is it's way different than what's in your head. It's a lot of fantasy in your head and how easy it could be, and the reality is completely different. Simply being outside all the time is different. That's out of your comfort zone until you get used to that, especially on those cold days and windy days. It's uncomfortable. Right there is one of the things to keep in mind. I didn't have a plan in place. I didn't have an actual plan on how I was going to pull it off. And doing that hurt me because as I transitioned out of the other life, the work life, town work life, business life, into the outdoor life, I didn't have a good transition plan. So that really held me up last year and cost me on both sides. And it actually hurt both sides. The transition hurt both sides because I didn't have a plan in place. So one of the things that I would highly recommend is putting a plan together and sticking with it. And what I mean by that is what's your vision and mission for that outdoor lifestyle? Is it to be a full-time trapper, make your living trapping and then fishing in the off season and hunting in the off season? Or is it to forage, or is it to become a full-time fisherman or just an explorer? My plan originally was to gear up last year to be a full-time trapper, and I didn't plan to have my schedule in place and around the seasons and around the weather and around when fur is prime, so I can say I've failed miserably. I'm just getting out trapping now. So the full-time trapping thing, now that I realize I need a plan, will start next year. And so I've spent the last several weeks, maybe a couple months, putting together a plan. And another thing with that plan is a vision and a mission. So I've dumbed down my to-do lists and my plans, and I have all kinds of notes on what I wanted to do, and I've dumbed that right down. My everyday vision right now is to prioritize God, family, and lifestyle above all else. So that is what I base all my decisions around now. But in there, I'm going to have to figure out how to make some revenue, because obviously you need money to live, and you need money to live this lifestyle. So that's another thing is you got to downsize your life big time. I mean, even fixing your own stuff. In my other life, I always had a guy. You always had a guy to fix your truck or your boat. or your snowmobile, you always had somebody, you just dropped it off, paid the bill, picked it up. Now as I go full time, is I got to figure that stuff out myself. So it's been a huge learning curve. Could be frustrating at times. It's another thing, like you're outside your comfort zone. It can be frustrating when you're taking apart something you've never done before and having to figure out how to fix it and buy the parts and put them in and cut your hands up on the rusty nuts and bolts. It's quite the learning experience. Like in the outdoor life too, we're talking about cutting expenses. It's not what you make, it's what you keep, because your initial income goes to almost zero. So you certainly have to watch your expenses and cut them right down. So last year I basically vanished from my normal life, which would be eating out all the time, going to the pubs for beers and all that stuff. You really dumb down your expenses and fix your own things and get that under control. I'd highly recommend, before you jump into it, having your expenses figured out where you're going to cut them, because I can tell you from personal experience, my first year was a real tough one that way, and a big time adjustment. Another thing Another thing is you can't go into the outdoor lifestyle with any type of ego, because nature will sort that out in an awful hurry. You don't want to do it for fame, in my opinion. Anyways, you don't want to do it for fame, and you don't want to certainly pretend that you know everything, because the second you think you do, you're just going to get put right back in your place. Nature will do that for you. So with my plan now, it's like I specifically schedule stuff so I can push forward with my outdoor life. I I specifically schedule, for example, this podcast, and I'm pushing forward with it, whether it's perfect or not. And I was found myself overthinking a lot the first year. I was overthinking things, and the learning curve of just figuring out how to do a podcast and film and edit and then get it on YouTube and all that stuff was a huge learning curve. Cost me a bunch of time. So I'm hoping this year, as I just push forward, I learn along the way. But the fact is I've got this stuff scheduled, and I'm going to do it no matter what, because I can't move forward with an outdoor lifestyle unless I make the plan for it, I schedule it, and I stick to it. I guess I put off a lot of filming and a lot of podcasts last year because I procrastinated and it seemed overwhelming at times, and I ended up not doing it. But then you think that through. It's like, if you have a job and you got to show up at your job at 7 o'clock in the morning, whether you like it or not, you got to show up at your job at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's where I'm at this year. Is I plan stuff, I scheduled it, I get up and I show up. Now, and also too, I had a lot of ideas on revenue streams in the outdoor life, and because I didn't have a plan or a proper schedule worked out, I missed out on a lot of them. Like, I was thinking, obviously, full-time trapping, didn't plan for that, so I'm behind on that one. But also last year was foraging. I really wanted to try morel mushrooms. There were some fires that were not too far from here. I wanted to give that a shot, foraging. Like, it's almost like a working holiday in the bush. Kind of missed the boat on that. Picked a few for myself. Same thing with fiddleheads. Just picked a few for myself. Went out and did it. And diamond willow fungus. And I picked a few spruce tips, but I never really scheduled my days to attack that when it was in season. And that's something this year that I'm planning on doing, is scheduling my time for stuff like that. Other revenue streams that I've been thinking about, and I don't know how much I want to do it, is I could go and be a fishing guide off the north coast here and fish the ocean, take people out. I'm not sure if that's something that my heart wants to do, but I will commit to that potentially for 10 or 15 fishing days for people, if that's the way I have to make some revenue, if my spring foraging and stuff doesn't work out. But I am planning that. I have put together backup plans in my plan there. So it's same with hunting guiding. I'm not entirely sure I want to be paid to take people out, but it's something I could do. But it's definitely there, and I have certain dates in my calendar that I'm going to do reviews on how things are going. And if they're not going as good in one area of revenue stream, I am going to switch and adjust to another area. And like, that's the thing is you need a few different revenue streams, I find, in this lifestyle. So for me, is it going to be some products? I hope so. I hope to add a product a week this year to my website and start selling some outdoor products. And is it potentially content? I would think so. That would be the ultimate, but that's not a realistic goal. So I have to have a bunch of different revenue streams, and again, really watch my expenses and try to cut out all the noise and concentrate on the stuff that's going to bring me revenue. I mean, I could, one of the things, if I'm out in the bush anyways, I could cut firewood and people would buy that. That's one area. If I'm out there and I'm trapping and I see a nice tree for firewood, maybe on the way in I could grab that, and that would pay for my fuel and stuff for that day. But I definitely am trying to become an opportunist in terms of my outdoor lifestyle, and that would be the same for Chaga or any other product that's I'm already there anyways. So I'm planning on being a better opportunist in terms of my revenue streams. And obviously, putting yourself out there on the internet is another weird one. It was a huge learning curve outside my comfort zone. I would say most of the people that know me would say that that's a real odd thing for me to do. It's kind of, I'm normally a pretty private guy. I have a fairly large network of people that I've done business with and that are my friends as well. And I usually pretty private guy, and I normally keep my circle pretty small of my close friends, and didn't particularly like everyone knowing what I'm doing all the time. So this is another real learning curve, getting outside of my comfort zone. But once again, going back to, they say you got two lives and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. The worst thing is I could just go back and work normally. I certainly don't want to. The way that I see the world crumbling down around us in terms of the politics and the decision makers just seem right out to lunch. Plus the towns across this country seem to be falling apart. There's a lot of decisions that we're making that we're reaping the consequences of those decisions that were made over the last 10 years. And I just decided to remove myself from that and try to go on my own path where I'm beholden to literally God, and my family and myself. And that's the lifestyle I'm shooting for. And I think there's probably, at least from conversations I've had, there's probably a lot of people that feel the same as I do. So as this podcast goes along, and I'm hoping that maybe I can encourage other people to do the same, but with a better start than I had. My start was awful, and I learned I should have known better. But either way, I'm pushing forward at regroup over the last month, figure it out, and I'm going to keep going. Another thing that I'm doing as part of my future is writing. So I'm writing, and I used to write as a kid, got away from it for all these years. So it's like, again, it's a big out of the comfort zone, get back into it, get the brain going again. But I'm writing, I'm working on it. I'm really trying not to have like AI write anything for me. So some of my stuff is a little bit butchered, but I hope that as I keep moving forward and scheduling the writing every week, that over time it gets better. But I am pushing forward with it. It's outside of my comfort zone. The thing with all of these different things, as you're learning, and I'm outside of my comfort zone and I'm new to lots of this stuff, is that it takes way longer than you think in your head. So my ambition certainly outdoes reality. So I don't get everything done, but I sure try, and I prioritize this outdoor lifestyle, this wild ways lifestyle, the getting out of the matrix, getting away from the city lifestyle. And I mean, it's so nice when you're out there, and you don't get dragged down any rabbit holes that on your phone. You don't get politicized. I don't get angry at what's going on. I just concentrate on what I'm doing, my family, and what I can control. And that's been really a real blessing and freeing in so many ways. Yeah, and again, it's all about leaving the life of comfort. And as years go by, it's easy to fall into that comfort zone where you can make easy excuses that, oh, I'm getting older, my back's sore and I'm sore. It's getting out of that comfort level, getting outside of it and seeking the adventure. And I hope my vision too is God, family, and lifestyle. And my hope is that when I look back, so I got to push hard this year, but when I look back and hopefully, Lord willing, 30 years from now, I can say, I hope I can look back earlier than that, but I hope I can look back and say that was the best thing I ever did, is got out of what we were taught to do, is in that everyday business work, city lifestyle that wasn't so appealing to me, and I did it because I was taught to do it, but I stepped out, and the unfortunate part for stepping out so late for me is it's a lot harder than I think it's a lot harder than if you just do it when you're young and you got that young energy and you got that youth in you, and maybe you don't have so much experience that tells you to like not do it. There's so many things in the world right now that tell you don't do it. You start to second guess yourself and hesitate a little bit. And so I hope when I look back, I can be like, it was the best thing I ever did. It certainly, I can speak for the first year. It's been really hard. Maybe it's one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And this year's going to be a tough one. It's going to be full of all kinds of learning curves, certainly ups and downs. I feel good about the fact that I have a plan in place now, at least a lot better plan than I had last year. I have ideas going on, and I'm going to schedule my weeks, and then every month I'll look back and see how I did. One last thing, it's just a big learning curve. Like if I want to be say in the winter I want to trap full time. Well, I always was a recreational trapper, and so did you put your effort into the sets, and you had so much fun when you caught stuff. But going full time, I'm gonna have to learn a lot. I've been looking at some old time trapper guys, and that I've come across those Johnny Thorpe beaver videos through the ice, and so I've been studying that, and I'm gonna do a bit of trapping obviously for the next 2 months. But spring beaver, I plan on using some of his techniques. So it's always a learning curve. Even the efficiency out in the wilderness, becoming more efficient with your stuff, like how much gizmos do you need to bring, what makes your life way easier, what speeds up time. That's all been a big reminder. I mean, back when I was a kid or way younger, we used to go sheep hunting and goat hunting up in the mountains and stay up there for a week or 2 weeks, and then you forget that what's the stuff to bring and what's the stuff not to bring. And also filming is another thing that's interesting, because obviously I don't have a camera crew or anything like that, so you're self-filming, and you realize that things take about 5 times longer when you're new at setting up cameras and figuring it out. And I think they take longer just no matter what. And then you like the editing and all of that stuff is still a work in progress for me. But if I could hope that anybody got anything out of this podcast, it would be the encouragement to go after it, to seek that lifestyle, if that's what you choose, whatever outdoor pursuit you're after, to get away from the matrix of what we were taught to do in terms of working. And if you picked up anything from here, just to recap real quick, would be to have a vision and a mission. Make sure you have a plan in place. Make a schedule and stick to it, just like a work schedule. Stick to it. Embrace yourself. Embrace being outside of your comfort zone. Understand that reality is a little bit different than the fantasy, and be ready for that, and embrace it. Embrace the discomfort. You certainly feel accomplished when you've done something out of your comfort zone all day, and you get done and you come in. There's a sense of accomplishment that feels pretty good. You just got to get out there and get after it. Downsize your life, cut your expenses, figure that out now. These monthly revenue streams where you sign up for monthly plans and stuff, think about if you really need it or not, because $20 here or $30 there or $10, it all adds up at the end of the month, and you definitely need to cut expenses. Unless you already have lots of money where it doesn't matter, but most people, I think, plan on cutting your expenses to get your costs under control. I would also say, I know, like, when you make a big jump like this, if it's different than what everybody else is doing, some people don't want you to have any success. A lot of people want you to have success, but some people even close to you may not want you to succeed. So my recommendation on that is just tell the people that are super important to you, but you can keep it to yourself too, and you can just push forward on your own, because sometimes even the people closest to you will want to drag that down and tell you how stupid it is. And if you choose to tell everybody, you may run into that, and if you do, who cares? Plow forward. And one last, keep your ego in check, plow forward, do the best you can. I hope that you do step outside of your comfort zone in whatever pursuit you're after, and hopefully I had maybe given you a little bit of encouragement to do it. So I have a Seeking Truth series. It comes out on Thursdays. It's just separate from this podcast. This is an outdoor podcast. It's separate. It's Seeking Truth. So what I've been doing is reading a bit of the Bible. I'm seeking some truth, and one of the books I'm reading right now is Proverbs. So that, as those books change and stuff like that, I'm just putting out short podcasts on Thursdays about kind of what I've been learning and seeking the truth. And Proverbs is a really good book. It's a book of comparisons. It's really been good for me in terms of this lifestyle. It tells you kind of, if you make decisions one way, how your life will go. If you make them another way, kind of how your life will go. And there is so much truth in that. So if you want, check that out. Comes out every Thursday. And if not, I hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Take care.